Pandanus amaryllifolius. I propagate my Pandanus amaryllifolius by using plant sucker. After cutting, I clean my Pandanus amaryllifolius sucker by removing dry and dead leaves. I plant my Pandanus amaryllifolius sucker about 10 centimeters deep in the growing media. Please make sure your soil is moist before planting. By doing this, it makes it easier to stick Pandanus amaryllifolius sucker to the soil. I do not use any humidity dome, propagators, polypropagator when propagate my Pandanus amaryllifolius plant. This is due to my Pandanus amaryllifolius plant sucker already have aerial roots. When I take Pandanus amaryllifolius sucker to propagate, I could be putting the plant at risk of transplant shock. Some signs Pandanus amaryllifolius transplant shock include wilting and yellowing leaves. The reasons that Pandanus amaryllifolius may have transplant shock is due to injured root system. When transplant shock occurs, it can resulting in the slowing of the plant growth. For me, transplant shock will definitely occur when I try to transplanting Pandanus amaryllifolius to new container. But lucky for me, Pandanus amaryllifolius is a hardy plant and very hard to kill. I do not use any rooting hormone when transplanting Pandanus amaryllifolius. You also can propagate Pandanus amaryllifolius sucker using water. This being done to encourage more secondary root growth before potting in the soil. For me, it take about a week or two for propagate Pandanus amaryllifolius in the water. When I propagate Pandanus amaryllifolius in water, I change the water every other day. Propagate Pandanus amaryllifolius in water by soaking only the root section of the pandan plant, not the leaves. Before I make cutting to Pandanus amaryllifolius sucker, I sanitize my scissor. By doing this, I try to prevent new cutting from becoming infected from disease-causing pathogens. I sterilized my scissor using rubbing alcohol. I use 70% concentration isopropyl alcohol. According to the Center for Disease Control, isopropyl alcohol in concentrations of 70% or more will disinfect surfaces for bacteria, fungi, and viruses. I use rubbing alcohol by wipe my scissor blade before making any cutting. I repeat this process every time before I make a new cutting from new plant. When using rubbing alcohol, please do not dilute it with water, because dilute isopropyl alcohol will make the concentrations go down. This will resulting low effectiveness against bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Alcohol is highly flammable, so take precautions. You also can use chlorine bleach to disinfect your tools. For using bleach, we can make 10% solution, which means 1 part bleach and 9 part water. I don't recommend using bleach for pruning and cutting tools that require a sharp edge, since bleach is known to be corrosive to metals. Please be responsible when disposing bleach after using it. Please don't pour it in your garden as it can harm plants and beneficial soil organisms. The genus name Pandanus is derived from a Malayan name, screw pines. The species epithet, amaryllifolius, refers to how its leaves are similar to those of plants in the Amaryllis genus. It is derived from the Latin words amaryllis and folius, meaning leaves. Pandanus amaryllifolius is in Pandanaceae family. Pandanus amaryllifolius is a herbaceous tropical plant. Some common name for Pandanus amaryllifolius are fragrant pandan, scented pandan, screw pine, fragrant screw pine, Indonesian screw pine, Pandan rampai, Pandan wangi, and daun pandan. My minimum temperature when growing Pandanus amaryllifolius is 24 degrees Celsius. My maximum temperature when growing Pandanus amaryllifolius is 33 degrees Celsius. I grow my Pandanus amaryllifolius in tropical climate. Pandanus amaryllifolius can be propagated by using stem cutting or sucker. Soil I use for Pandanus amaryllifolius propagation contain cocoa peat, red burn soil, fine sand, old humus, and charcoal. Pandanus amaryllifolius can be planted in various soil types, includes problem soils like peat and sandy brist soil. Mature Pandanus amaryllifolius plant can withstand long droughts up to 30 to 40 days, if grow in the land. You can use whatever growing media available to your convenience. Pandanus amaryllifolius prefer fertile, moist, loamy soils. Soil pH for growing Pandanus amaryllifolius, 6.5 to 7.5 pH. Container size I use for growing Pandanus amaryllifolius is height 28 centimeters, width 27 centimeters. You can use any type of container that available to your convenience. You also can grow pandan in bigger container than mine. The bigger the container, the bigger root system will develop and will resulting bigger plant. Or use small container and transfer them when they grow bigger. Please make sure your container have good drainage. For me, the advantage for growing in container is gives me more control over sunlight, moisture, and temperature. I grow my Pandanus amaryllifolius at full sun location. Pandanus amaryllifolius also can be grow in partial shade location. Pandanus amaryllifolius need at least 6 to 8 hours of sun to thrive. In my climate, Pandanus amaryllifolius plant is perennial. If I grow Pandanus amaryllifolius in the land, I do not need to water my pandan after 90 days of transplanting, since my climate receive pretty good rain. In early stages, my average water usage is about 400 milliliters per day. I water my plant every morning, every other day. At day 120 and onwards, I just water my plant if topsoil is dry, and my average water usage about 800 milliliters. Your water usage may be different than mine. Water usage depend on container size, weather, and climate you live in. Relocate my Pandanus amaryllifolius plant to new location. I use multi-purpose liquid fertilizer for my plant. Pandanus amaryllifolius plant prefer nitrogen-based fertilizer. You can use any fertilizer that available to your convenience. Please read instructions carefully before using any fertilizer. I use fertilizer every 3 months when growing in container. Usually when I grow Pandanus amaryllifolius in the land, I don't use any fertilizer, but if I saw slow growth on my Pandanus amaryllifolius plant, only then I fertilize my pandan plant. I don't encounter any plant diseases when growing Pandanus amaryllifolius. I encounter some chewing insects when growing Pandanus amaryllifolius. Other pests you may encounter when growing Pandanus amaryllifolius are Laminococcus pandani, Pandanus mealybug. Optimal temperature for growing Pandanus amaryllifolius range is about 18 to 31 degrees Celsius. For growing in colder climate, if the temperature falls below 10 degrees Celsius, need to move Pandanus amaryllifolius plant indoors for protection. It is also important to keep the plant fairly dry during the cooler months. And never let water sit in the crown as it will get cold and eventually rot the plant. Below 7 degrees Celsius, your Pandanus amaryllifolius plant will be damaged by cool temperatures. Pandanus amaryllifolius can grow from shrub 1 to 1.6 meter tall or small tree 2 to 4.5 meter tall. Since I grow mine in container, my Pandanus amaryllifolius only grow up to 85 centimeters. To maintain the plant as a shrub, regularly harvest the leaves and water generously. Also, continual harvesting of the leaves from the shrub form will prevent it from developing into the tree form. For your information, since to this day Pandanus amaryllifolius female inflorescence has not been observed, while the male inflorescence is very rare and only found on the tree form of this species. The male inflorescence is a spike of flowers with a white spathe. Because of this reason, Pandanus amaryllifolius has not been observed to produce fruits due to the lack of female inflorescences. To produce many pandan suckers, the main plant is need to be pruned to a height of 20 to 30 centimeters and left to grow again for 2 months. Pandanus amaryllifolius is used as coloring and flavoring agents. The chlorophyll pigments in the leaves will color foods green. Nowadays, its extract is used by manufacturers of bread, cakes, and biscuits as a natural pandan coloring and flavoring agents. Thai people use Pandanus amaryllifolius leaves to wrap around pieces of seasoned chicken and then fry them. In Southeast Asia, the leaves are often used to make small boxes or containers that can hold pudding or jellies. Pandanus amaryllifolius is believed to have medicinal properties too. Some believe that pandan leaf infusions prepared in coconut oil can treat rheumatism. Chemicals in the Pandanus amaryllifolius leaves, such as 2-acetyl-1-pyrroline, is repellent to American and German cockroaches, Paraplaneta americana and Blatella germanica, respectively. Pandanus amaryllifolius leaves are sometimes weaved together to make baskets or used in potpourri. Fun facts: while still on the plant, pandan leaves are scentless, but when extracted or slightly crushed, they release an aroma similar to Valaris glabra flower. Thank you for watching.